This is the Tan Talk Radio Network.
It's Joel Romero here and the Knockout Radio.
Hi, we are back coming to you live from the Cool Breeze AC broadcast facility, brought to you by 8 Man Strong, Staff Zone, and Bucked Up Energy Drink. As we're waiting for Chandler Riggs to call in, actor from The Walking Dead, will be in town in a couple weeks. Like I said, we'll have some tickets to give away. We're going to have to review last week's UFC, the CFFC. We'll preview this weekend's UFC, but that quick, let's go to the phone lines and welcome Chandler Riggs. Chandler, how are you?
Hey, what's going on, guys? How you doing?
We're doing well. We appreciate your time. Headed to the Tampa Bay area in a couple weeks for the Tampa Bay Comic Convention. Have you been to Tampa in the Tampa Bay area before?
I love it. Yeah, I've been there a handful of times. I just shot a film there a few months, last year, I guess. And, it's an awesome city. I can't wait to come back. It's going to be great. Before
we talk about the convention, since you're originally from Atlanta, I'm sure you know about the love between the Tampa Bay area and basically Atlanta.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. I mean, Tampa. It's an awesome place, and I've definitely had some great times going there.
Chandler, I worked for Fuse Television for a long time, and we were in the same building as AMC. And I remember when The Walking Dead, and it was The Walking Dead and Mad Men, and a lot of my friends were in ad sales, and they were just raking in the money because you guys were so incredibly popular. What's your life been like post Walking Dead?
Oh man, yeah, it's honestly it's been really great. I've been doing a lot of indie movies and just fun side projects and trying to stay busy and keep working. It's been really great.
What's your latest indie film?
I got one right now that's running through the film festival circuit. It's called it's actually a rom-com, funny enough. It's called Breakup Season, and it's an awesome, just fun movie. Yeah, the one that I shot actually in Tampa is called Hacked. It's another comedy. It's such a blast. I shot a Western as well, actually down in Sarasota. So it's I've spent a lot of time in Florida, funny enough.
You're almost considered a local then with how much time you've spent. So let's talk about the Tampa Bay Comic Convention coming to the Tampa Bay Convention Center August 23rd through the 25th. What's that like for you? You know, fans come to meet you. What's it like when you get to meet these fans and they all have stories that, watched an episode or they met you? So what's that experience like for you?
Oh man, it is so cool. I've been doing these conventions since I started on the show, really, and it's always such an amazing experience getting to meet all the fans and talk to them and see why they love the show and love all the characters, and it's such an awesome experience.
I always ask the fighters that we talk to, or the actors or the musicians, when fans come and they get a photo of you or an autograph from you, is there things that you collect? And if so, what is that one item that you would like to acquire at some point?
Oh man, I'm not a huge collector. I do like to just honestly at these conventions, if there's someone there that is really cool, I love to just shake their hand and say hey, love your work, and have that kind of be it. To be honest, I will say I am a big D&D guy, so I do like to be on the lookout for some cool dice or some cool minis, and that's probably the one thing that I nerd out a bit over.
Actors always, tell stories, when their series, ends, they'll always take, the door or the couch from Friends. So what did you acquire? What did you take from The Walking Dead?
I got to keep one of the hats that Andy, the guy who played Rick, that he wore back in the first season, and I got to keep one of the shirts that I wore back in season one. There's science dog. That that shirt that I wore back then. So very cool. It was very cool to get the memorabilia.
So Chandler, growing up obviously on TV, right now front and center of the Olympics, coming from a hometown, Atlanta, in 1996, the Olympics were there. The Olympic residue, are you a big fan? Are you watching any of the Olympics currently? And if so, what's your favorite sport?
Oh man, I was never quite into sports growing up. I kind of stayed in my lane, to be honest. I tried sports here and there, but I was just so bad. And naturally, I didn't have a big interest in in sports. So, but I will say my parents, they always have the Olympics on in the background, and so I'll stop by and watch, and just see the amazing athletes if I get the opportunity.
So you just turned 25, right?
Yes, I did just turn 25.
Happy birthday. If you could work with any director, last week we had the executive producer of all the Batman films on the show. His name is Michael Uslan, and he was telling us about how Christopher Nolan and Tim Burton were like geniuses. And, if you could work with any director, who would it be?
Oh, man. I mean, Chris Nolan is definitely up there for me. He's seriously just such a mastermind. I love watching all of his interviews and everything. It's really, really amazing.
Well, go ahead.
Oh man, I don't know. There's a lot of amazing directors out there. Honestly, I really love working with directors with indie stuff. People that are like writers and directors and producers of their own stuff, because they're so fun to collaborate with and very passionate about the story, and they have a really strong level of investment.
So Chandler, going back to the Olympics, being a tap dancer and, with the dance background you have, how does the 4-inch bar, have you ever tried to do anything like that with your balance or with footwork or hand-eye coordination? And if so, how did it go?
Yeah, the tap dance is a funny thing on my Wikipedia that gets brought up. I did it for I think a year and a half when I was 8 years old. So I'm not a dancer in any way. I didn't get very far.
Our co-host Matt, that's his basic research. Wikipedia.
Yeah, Wikipedia is like.
Yeah.
Good job, Matt.
Well, the Encyclopedia Britannica is no longer in existence.
That's right. So, Chandler, coming from Walking Dead, that was obviously an action series. Are you looking to do action films? Does a Marvel series intrigue you? What's next for your career, other than the indie films?
Oh man, I mean, I audition for everything that comes my way. Whether it's big or small, and I just love being a part of cool stories, and I've got an awesome opportunity over the last year to do some, smaller budget stuff and larger budget stuff, and I just love working and love being on set and collaborating with awesome people.
At what point, as being a successful TV star, at what point do you end up not having to audition for anything, where they just offer you the part?
Oh man, I mean, it kind of depends, because there's varying levels of it. I've been fortunate enough to get some offers on some lower end of the budget stuff, but I still auditioned for lower budget stuff as well. So it just depends on the project, and depends if the casting and producers involved think that I'm really the perfect fit for this role based on the material. But a lot of times I'm not the first person that people think of for roles, and so I audition for them. So it's kind of a coin toss.
We are talking to Chandler Riggs, formerly of The Walking Dead, coming to the Tampa Bay area August 23rd through the 25th. Fans are going to have the opportunity to get pictures and autographs and chat with Chandler. So, Chandler, I'm curious, is there a funny story that you remember of a fan coming up and saying something, doing something, freaking out, seeing you, just anything that you're like, wow, this is pretty funny or cool?
Oh, man. Yeah, there's I do love going to the international conventions, either over in Europe or down in South America, because it's very different, with conventions down there, and people are very, very loudly passionate about about the shows and about the characters that they love. Oh man, I'm trying to think of a specific story that pops out in mind. I mean, the coolest thing really is just when people tell me about how, that Carl or the show or something helped them through whatever time in their life that they were going through. I've had people tell me that, seeing Carl persevere through the apocalypse helps them battle cancer, and it's stuff like that is just so cool and rewarding and fulfilling, and reminds myself why I do it. So it's stuff like that. It's so cool.
Is there times, and I'm thinking of some WWE and WCW, wrestlers in the back day where, they would have a character and they would never leave that character when they would go home. Macho Man Randy Savage, a good friend of mine, he was always in character.
Oh, yeah.
Do you ever catch yourself like away from the set and you're at, Albertsons or, a grocery store and you're like in your character, not, being Chandler?
No, luckily that hasn't happened. It's I mean, I imagine it probably happens more with people that are all about improv, which that's a lot of what what wrestlers do. A lot of it's kind of improv stuff. So it's luckily all my stuff is scripted, and I don't have to worry about bleeding myself with the character as much.
That's an old school wrestling you mentioned right there with the bleeding, and found that kind of funny when he said that. Go ahead.
So, Chandler, I interviewed Ben Affleck several years ago, and I said, is there anything you regret about your career, and notwithstanding any romances that he's had? And he said, you know what, Mike, if I were smart, I would have changed my last name, because whenever my mom or my sister go to the grocery store, it's always like, are you related to Ben Affleck or Casey Affleck, whatever. He said, I would have changed my last name if I had known better. Do you ever have those experiences where your family's like, oh, why couldn't you be Chandler Bing instead of Chandler Riggs?
Chandler Bing.
Oh, man. Oh, fortunately, no. I think my parents are pretty proud of it. They're stoked that their son is a working actor, and they helped be a part of it too. That they were taking me down the set every day and helping me out with school and whatnot. So I think they're pretty cool. My brother, on the other hand, he might be wanting to shed it a bit. He's going to college and always just being Carl's brother.
It's funny. One of the guys from Stranger Things, he was a waiter. After the first season of Stranger Things, he was a waiter in my hometown it's called Long Beach Island in New Jersey, and he was a waiter in a local restaurant. And everybody was like, is that the kid from Stranger Things? And they were like, yeah, that's him. And he's like, what is he doing here? And he's like, he's just being a kid. He's only 15 years old. And you started when you were 12, right?
Oh, yeah, I was 10. Yeah,
you were 10. So were there moments where you were just like, let me be a kid? Let me just go and play PlayStation and not be worried about anything and not have to be this TV actor?
Yeah, I mean, I the whole time that I was on the show, I stayed in school and I was a complete normal kid. I would just, have to go and film on a TV show a couple days of the week, and come back, go to school, get caught up on homework and everything and tests and whatnot, and go back and forth and do it. So my life was totally normal outside of the.
And you went to a public school?
Yeah.
All right. So were there moments where other kids would pick on you because you were a famous actor, or were there times where you felt awkward? I mean, that has to be for a kid growing up. To grow up famous is kind of strange, as we all know. But however, when you're trying to be normal at the same time, and the other kids are looking at you, and maybe they don't like you because you're on TV. Did you ever have those experiences?
I mean, maybe here and there, like a little bit. But I mean, everyone. I was acting my whole life growing up, and I was always the kid that would leave class to go to auditions and whatnot. So everyone that I was in class and growing up with knew and didn't care, and it was always just kind of a part of who I was, and not a big deal. So when I got on the show